Hi, it's Katrina. My friend David is going to be helping me out with the voiceover today, so everyone give him a warm welcome.
Number 10. The Global Flood. Scientists have estimated that by the year 2100, we will face a global flood the likes of which hasn't been seen for almost 10,000 years. I'm talking about a biblical flood, and this time Noah isn't around to save us. According to engineer Ian Young from the University of Melbourne, scientists are still trying to understand just how massive the impact will be of the unavoidable incoming flood. It's definitely going to happen by 2100, and it has the potential to kill 600 million people and leave the world in absolute chaos. That's the number of people who live on coastlines around the globe, in an area within 32 feet, 9.7 meters above sea level. But that's only getting started. Even if almost 10% of the world population is wiped out by the coastal flooding, there are the storms and wild weather events to think about as well, which will cause even more damage. Plus, worst-case scenarios could see floods happening inland, totally drowning entire cities that aren't even on the ocean. But there's something else that a lot of people don't talk about. If a huge portion of the world is suddenly underwater, there will be millions of people fleeing from the chaos, which will result in mass migration, hysteria, violence, and global-scale madness. Number 9. The year 2038. In 1999, everybody thought the world was going to end in 2000. The general idea was that the dates on all the computers would reset and the world would be plunged into the year zero, but it never happened. Y2K was a bust and the world went on spinning. But now there's a new problem that not so many people are aware of. It's called the year 2038 problem, and it has to do with the C programming language. This programming language uses a library of routines known as the Standard Time Library. It's quite complicated, but boils down to a 4-byte format for the storage of time values, number functions for converting, and the display and calculation of time values. Now things get really complicated. The format assumes that the beginning of all time is January 1st, 1970, 12 a.m. It's a convenient format, but one that will inevitably reach a maximum value of time and then roll over to a negative value. It'll happen on January 19th, 2038. Theoretically, the problem can be fixed by converting all the 4-byte formatting to 8-byte formatting. Theoretically. Another theoretical happens on the day of expiration if the problem isn't fixed, and suddenly every clock is thrown back to December 1910. This could affect flight navigation systems, power grids, and we could see massive system failures across the globe. While it might not destroy the world in and of itself, it could lead to what cybersecurity experts like Mika Hyppönen have called the digital Pearl Harbor. Number 8. Volcanic chain reaction. Our planet's crust is broken into 17 rigid tectonic plates. It's a difficult thing to imagine, but try to follow me here for a second. The massive crust around our planet, its plates, they're all floating on a much hotter and much softer layer in the mantle. These plates shake and shift around, and that results in volcanoes and earthquakes. The issue is that we don't live on a solid planet. It's all molten rock and iron fueling the nuclear reactor in the center. And surrounding that molten mantle is our crust. This is important to know because we're about to talk about a chain reaction that could kill all life on Earth. At the places where the tectonic plates touch, or nearly touch, there are volcanoes. The ruptures between the plates is what allows for the molten fire from the mantle to squeeze all the way up to the surface. According to American researcher Stephen Petronek, even just one eruption from a sizable volcano could cause a chain reaction, setting off other volcanoes at the breaks in the tectonic plates. What you might not know is that throughout the history of our planet, 98% of every species that ever lived has gone extinct. Volcanoes are the biggest reason why. The biggest extinction event of the Triassic period was caused by a string of volcanoes that all went off at the same time, like accidentally lighting the whole box of fireworks on fire. Volcanoes stretched from New Jersey to Morocco, and all of them exploded at once and killed 95% of life throughout the oceans and on land. If something similar were to happen today, humans would very likely be toast. The atmosphere will be full of so much carbon dioxide, the only way anyone could survive being outside would be with a gas mask. Number 7. The overpopulation equation. Heinz von Forster was a brilliant physicist, an eclectic philosopher, and a man who used his knowledge and suspicions of the world to predict doomsday. He recently died at the age of 90, only a few years before he believed the world was to come to an end. Just like the cultists over at Messiah Foundation International, he thought the world would end in 2026, on November 13th to be exact. However, his reasoning was wildly different and had nothing to do with an asteroid. Instead, Heinz von Forster believed the world would crumble around us because of overpopulation. Heinz von Forster was a native of Vienna. He got a doctorate at the University of Breslau, and he disguised his Jewish heritage so that he could work at a Berlin radar lab during World War II. He moved to the US in 1949 and worked at the University of Illinois. He even founded the university's biological computer laboratory. He came up with his doomsday equation in 1960. At the time, the population was about 2.7 billion. He and some of his colleagues predicted that population growth would become infinite by approximately November 13th, 2026. The world wouldn't necessarily end at that date, but it would be a tipping point. By 2026, this brilliant professor believed there would be so many people on Earth that it would be impossible to slow down birth rates, and that would result in an overwhelming of the food system and a total collapse of the natural world. Number 6. WR104 starburst. There's a star about 8,000 light-years away from us called WR104, and it could very well be the end of all existence on our planet. This star could explode at any minute, literally. It's ripe for a complete core collapse and supernova event. It would be the closest supernova to ever occur in humanity's history. And according to astronomer Grant Hill from the W.M. Keck Observatory in Hawaii, it could happen either tomorrow or 500,000 years in the future. There is absolutely no way to exactly determine when the star will go supernova. What we do know is that when it happens, Earth is directly in its path. This star will emit an incredible burst of gamma radiation. You know, the stuff that made the Incredible Hulk. And all of that radiation will be blasted like a laser beam directly at our planet. If this sounds terrifying, that's because it is. It could wipe out a huge part of the protective atmospheric ozone that surrounds us, at which point we will be highly susceptible to the heat and radiation of the sun. With our ozone nearly 50% destroyed, we will be 50% more exposed to UVB radiation. Photosynthesis would be totally disrupted, marine and freshwater plankton would die off, all the plants would die off, and there would be a massive extinction event that humans would likely not survive. The truly scary thing is that it could happen at any second, even before you finish watching this video. If you knew today was your last day alive, what would you do? Tell me in the comments below, and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. Number 5. The 6th mass extinction. The world is ending as we speak. As scientists say, we are currently in the 6th mass extinction of our planet's history. Scientists have analyzed species of life forms and found that billions of regional populations have been lost. They blame overpopulation, greedy human consumption, and say we have a short time to act. This study was done by a large group of scientists and peer-reviewed before being published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. According to these experts in their fields, we are currently experiencing biological annihilation. Billions of individual populations of mammals, birds, and reptiles have been lost all over the planet. And even though over 50% of many individual animal species have been lost, they still aren't considered endangered until they are pretty much on the brink of vanishing. What scientists have concluded is that due to shrinking habitats, human encroachment, mass pollution, but really above all, just not having a place to live, we are experiencing the current annihilation of all life on Earth. Once we have successfully killed every living animal, we will no longer have a way to sustain ourselves and will soon follow. Number 4. The nuclear problem. The latest assessment of Russia's nuclear military capability as of early 22 does not look good. They have a stockpile of an estimated 4,477 nuclear warheads. The United States of America has 3,800 rapidly deployable warheads for a total of 5,500. Scientists have argued that only about 3 million megatons of TNT detonated during all of World War II. This is a stark comparison to the UK Trident submarine's nuclear warheads, which each carry 4 megatons on all of their 40 armed nuclear warheads. The point is that there's a lot of power out there just waiting to be unleashed. Nuclear war would most likely erase humanity as we know it. A study was published 2 years ago from top scientists around the world that agreed even a small nuclear contest would result in billions of deaths. The study looked at a conflict between India and Pakistan. They supposed that about 100 detonations, each the size of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, went off during the fighting. Direct human deaths would result somewhere in the tens of millions. However, the real impact would be the soot from the explosions getting stuck in the stratosphere and circulating around the globe. Incoming solar radiation would be blocked, the Earth's surface temperature would drop, and rainfall patterns would be dramatically altered. We would live in a world of darkness in which food exports no longer existed. Within the first few years, about 1.5 billion would die of starvation alone. Number 3. The final plague. Humans may be directly responsible for the extinction event we are currently experiencing. But don't worry, the natural world is fighting back, and it has been for a long time. Through sickness and disease, the world is very steadily trying to wipe us out. Fleas stricken with plague showed up in the city of Constantinople back in 541 AD and infected almost everyone. Most people think of the plague from the medieval days, but the one in the 6th century truly did almost wipe out all of humanity. It was called the Plague of Justinian, and it came out of Egypt and spread across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Somewhere between 30 and 50 million people died, over half the population of the whole world. It would be like if 5 billion people just dropped dead today. Then there was the Black Death that began in Europe somewhere around 1347, killing an estimated 200 million and an estimated 1/3 of the global population. Then the Great Plague struck London in 1665, killing about 100,000 Londoners. It was the last of the resurfacing plague infections, each of which killed about 20% of people in the capital. The point here is that one day the natural world may just succeed and finally give birth to an infectious disease so terrible that none of us are left standing. Number 2. Messiah Foundation International. The Messiah Foundation International is a spiritual organization. At least that's how they describe themselves. They were established in 2002 and are promoters of the teachings of Gohar Shahi, who preaches his very own unique philosophy of divine love. To put it plainly, the organization is a cult hiding under the veil of legitimacy. They were only born as a successor to a previous cult called Rags International, which was created by the same spiritual leader from Pakistan, full name Riaz Ahmed Gohar Shahi, back in 1980. What's interesting about this group is that they claim to be the ultimate fulfillment of all the world's religions' prophecies, including Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and Muslim. They also claim to know exactly when the world is going to end. According to the Messiah Foundation International, an asteroid is going to smash into the planet in the year 2026. And according to their spiritual leader, the only hope for humanity is if they can recognize his image on the moon. Yeah, it's about as weird as it sounds. Number 1. The rapture. Christians don't necessarily have to worry about asteroids or floods or any kind of extreme weather event or geological phenomenon destroying the world, because for Christians, they have the rapture to look forward to. The rapture is the day that Jesus Christ returns, and all the believers will be ascended to heaven. The bodies of the dead will be resurrected, and every person who ever lived, assuming they lived by the word of God and never lost their faith, will be brought to paradise to live for eternity. This is the rapture and the end. This great apocalypse will supposedly be in two phases. First, Jesus Christ will come for the believers and take them away. When this is happening, the unbelievers will have no idea. People will just kind of vanish. And that is when the tribulations begin. After 7 years since the believers ascended, Jesus Christ will come back and rule the earth for 1,000 years with all of his saints. Then, after Jesus is king of the world for an entire millennium, those who are still unbelievers, plus all the wicked people that died before, will be tossed into the lake of fire. The world will be erased, so that a new world of heaven and earth may be born. How do you think the world is going to end? Let me know any theories you have in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again soon for another shocking video.